Alright y'all, it's your boy Alan, back with another video, and I find myself in the streets of Saigon. I just had this really famous lunch spot called The Lunch Lady where Anthony Bourdain ate at. And I've been in Saigon for almost 2 weeks now, for around 12 days. And I also spent around 12 days in Bangkok in total, maybe 2 weeks at this point. And I wanted to have some free-flowing thoughts comparing the two, just gonna shoot them off my dome, and I figured this might be an interesting comparison. So I think when I think about the development of the countries, I think Bangkok, so the comparison is going to be mostly on the two major cities of Bangkok and Saigon. So the development of Bangkok it feels a lot more developed. I think there's a lot more high-rise buildings, fancy apartments, built-out restaurants. It did seem like there's less of like a stall culture. A lot of the restaurants I was going to in Bangkok were restaurants. I didn't really eat that much street food, and maybe I missed out on that point, so you guys let me know if I missed out. But I felt like the culture in Bangkok was to mostly go eat inside of restaurants and not necessarily eat the street food as much, versus in Vietnam, when you are getting food, you mostly, what I found was this really cool aesthetic spots that would look cool on Instagram. The food is a little bit less tasty and bland. It's going to be a lot more expensive. I think I probably spent maybe $40 for two people for one meal at some of the more aesthetic fancy spots. And then if I get street food here, like the one I just got at Anthony Bourdain's spot where he ate at a long time ago, it was only like $1. And it just shows you that if you pay for a nice aesthetic restaurant, you're gonna pay for it in the bill, and the food actually might not be that good. And a lot of the street food vendors have some of the best foods here in Vietnam, and I think the Thai food was really good. I don't have much to say on the street food because I didn't really experience that much, but going back to the point of development, I think there were a lot more high-rises in Bangkok. I think they have a lot more sidewalks, even though their sidewalk game was relatively okay comparing the two, but a lot more sidewalks than Vietnam. Especially, I think when you're in District 1 in Saigon, the main touristy area, they do have good sidewalk infrastructure, but the sidewalks are pretty packed because there's a lot of street vendors and people and trash. And I think when my recent Airbnb here in Saigon, I'm in District 2. It's a very developing area, and it's where a lot of expats like to hang out, but the sidewalk game is pretty weak. You're mostly going to be walking on the street. And I don't know how it is for the other districts that I haven't really seen yet, but that's just from my experience. And then I think on the development piece, especially in Saigon versus Bangkok, there's going to be noise pollution. I think the noise pollution comes a lot from in Bangkok of, there's motorcycles and cars driving really loudly. And then there's obviously going to be construction and high-rise buildings, but I think beyond that, it was more isolated. But when I'm here in Saigon, the noise pollution is pretty off the charts. On top of the motor vehicles, you also have constant construction going on throughout the day. I was just in my Airbnb today. It's a really nice spot, but they're working on something, and it was really loud. And then even when I was walking late at night around 1 or 2 a.m. in District 2, there were guys pouring concrete and like building buildings. So the people in Saigon are really hustling and developing the country and working hard, but it does contribute to a lot of noise. And obviously there's different districts and areas I haven't tried out that might be a lot quieter, but I did find myself having to go to more parks in Saigon just to get some peace and quiet. It's just really overstimulating at times. And I think in Bangkok, a little bit more developed in that sense. And I also do think that any major city, frankly, is going to have a lot of development like even in New York City, it's so freaking loud all the time too. So, but if I'm just comparing Bangkok and Thailand, Bangkok and Saigon, I do think that Thailand is a little bit more developed. They've obviously had more time to. It seems like they've had more time to use the money they've been earning from tourism to develop certain things. And then next, when I move on to the people aspect, I think Vietnamese people just got like this swag and they're just chillers. It's so funny when I watch back some of these vlogs I make when I'm doing these talking head videos. I saw this guy doing like a little wobble in the background, and everybody wants to say hi and be in the videos. And I didn't really do talking head videos in Thailand, but you know, everybody's really nice and hospitable, and they treat me really well. There's only been some instances where I landed in the airport, and then some guy was trying to scam me on the taxi cab, and then I also got scammed on a shoe cleaning service. But getting scammed here is maybe $12 more or something, so it's not like a huge deal. But obviously, if you don't want to feel like you're getting an unfair price as a tourist, and I think in Thailand, I never felt like I was getting scammed, not when I was aware of it. Not that maybe I was unaware of getting scammed, but here I've been aware of the different scams people have been trying to pull on me. But other than that, like, everybody's so nice here in Vietnam, super welcoming, always got a smile on their face. And I think both people in Southeast Asia know how to live their lives, especially in Vietnam. Like, I see motherfuckers just chilling on a bench like this and just looking at their surroundings, not on their phone. Maybe they're smoking a cigarette. In Thailand, I think I saw a few of that, but I see a lot more in Vietnam, where there's a culture of just being outside at 1 or 2 a.m, just kicking it, shooting the shit, being outside. Like, you can see like a lot of people hang out outside right here, and that was also something I noticed. And then also a different small detail here is when you go to restaurants in Vietnam, they got the fattest dogs. I didn't see dogs in Thailand this fat, but like, there's this dog right here, fat. Like, these two dogs are fat. Like, that dog right here is a fatty. And Vietnamese people, they like to feed their dogs well. And I'm like, that guy is gonna die of obesity. So that was also a small different thing. I was like, you walk into some of these street restaurants and then their dog pulls up. I'm like, wow, that guy is obese. And then the next point I think about, oh yeah, to the point of the people, they're both super nice. I think Thailand people are they got this more of like sunshine, happiness to them. They're always happy, happy, happy. I think it comes with the language and the way they speak. And then I think Vietnamese people, they're really nice. Like, maybe some of them are more serious, but they got this confidence and swagger to them that's a little bit different than the Thai people I've met. And then when I think about something important to tourists is the service aspect. And I guess I didn't realize, but I was looking up stats, and I think Thailand's tourism economy has been getting going a lot further along than Vietnam's. And then it's also a larger part of their GDP. So there's a strong emphasis on hospitality and service. And then I think here in Vietnam, the tourism industry is really starting to boom recently. I'm seeing a lot of Westerners, people like me pulling up these days. So obviously Vietnam is on the map for a lot of people. And I think the service aspect is very hit or miss at certain restaurants in Vietnam. Like, some restaurants I went to get a coffee, and then I got my coffee, and then my pastry came out 10 minutes later. I was like, where the hell is my pastry? And they just frankly forgot about my pastry. And you know, that's a relatively small detail, but I guess it's a polish that I do take for granted being in the States, where there's a tipping culture and service, and you pay for that service. But even in like countries like Japan, where you don't tip, the service is top tier. So there's small refinements I noticed, but even some restaurants in Vietnam are, you know, great service. So it's just kind of hit or miss. But I did feel like when I was in Thailand, the service is always on point no matter where I went, and we know there's no tipping culture there really. So there's that small detail on the service culture I think is really good. But also I think some people like that sense of the rough and tug kind of service of Vietnamese at times, where it's no bullshit sometimes. I don't know how I'm fully articulating this thought, but that's what I know is I do think Thailand has better service just because their economy is more centered around tourism, as well as they've had more time to develop a stronger service muscle versus Vietnam. But Vietnam is just, you might go to one that's really good service, one might not have good service. But and then I think the last thing I want to talk about, well, maybe I have a few more things, is the cost of living. I think obviously as Bangkok has gotten more developed, they're able to charge higher prices, and that's what I've been seeing each year I go back to Bangkok. The hotel price is getting 10 or 20% cheaper. The hotels here in Vietnam, they still do provide toothpaste and toothbrushes. They don't do that anymore in Bangkok just because of environmental. So I think Vietnam will probably get to that point eventually. But it is nice having toothbrush and toothpaste. And I think the cost is relatively similar. I think a 5-star hotel in Bangkok, I was probably paying around maybe $100 a night, $80 to $100 a night. I have not stayed in a 5-star here, but I stayed in a 2-star hotel, and that was like $20 a night here in Saigon. But I've been staying in a really nice Airbnb in like this luxury building in one of the nicest parts of Saigon, which is D2, the expat place, and it's really nice luxury building. And I'm paying $83 a night, which is the most I paid out of any accommodations here. And I stayed at another nice high-rise building in Vietnam, and that was only like 50 something a night. I did notice that I do think the Airbnb culture is stronger here in Vietnam. I don't know, I think I do need more time to fully evaluate the hotel aspect, but man, when I was staying in those nice hotels in Thailand, they're pretty damn great. I've only stayed in one hotel here, and it was only a 2-star, and the service is pretty good, but obviously it wasn't super bougie or posh because it was 2-star, but they treated me pretty well there. But I mostly got on Airbnbs. The hosts on my Airbnbs have been okay. Some of them, I think some of the service could have been better, but there's small details like that. And I think overall, I see the appeal in terms of, yeah, and then also in terms of cost of food. I think if you're going to these nice bougie spots in Thailand or Vietnam, I think Thailand, honestly, I think the bougie costs, maybe it's like 5 to 15% higher than Vietnam. It's still kind of expensive anywhere you go to a bougie spot. So I went to a bougie spot in Vietnam, and each drink was basically $11. And then I think if you go in Thailand, it might be $15, for example. And if you're eating at a bougie restaurant, I was probably paying around $50 for 2 people. And in Thailand, it's probably maybe it'll probably be up to like $60 per person. And then I think the street food, super cheap. You can live on street food, and it's really high quality and it tastes better than these bougie restaurants. But some people I hang out with, they do like to go to bougie restaurants, so I'm like, okay, we'll go. But you know, you can make the food super affordable. Just don't go to these fancy rooftop bars that can get really expensive, because I think I got a shot of Don Julio here in Vietnam, and I was like freaking $15 or $16. I'm like, that's so expensive. But it was like a touristy spot, so I get it. So if you pick and choose the right spots, you won't get charged arm and a leg. But my perspective is, I think frankly Vietnam has been a lot more expensive than I was expecting. I thought it would be maybe half as cheap as Thailand, but it's developing a lot. And obviously I pick and choose. Sometimes I stay at nice places, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I eat at expensive restaurants, sometimes I don't. But in terms of relative costs, maybe it's like 10 to 20% cheaper than Bangkok. But overall, I think Vietnam is developing a lot. There's a lot of industries moving here. The manufacturing space has been really booming here because it's that China plus one strategy where, you know, Chinese manufacturing is getting more expensive, and there's political tensions between the two. So a lot of companies have been diversifying with Vietnam, and in turn that has been increasing the economic growth of Vietnam, just manufacturing wise. And that's why I was also saying a lot of Vietnamese, they don't have to fully rely on tourism to keep up their economy. They have manufacturing, and I think that's a better business model, because tourism is such a fickle thing. If the economy is bad, tourism is going to go down. Manufacturing, people are always going to need their goods. So I think Vietnam, they just got this hunger and energy to them. I really enjoyed my time. Some parts have been uncomfortable because there's a certain small polish I might be expecting or missing as a Westerner, but man, it's been great. And then I think Thailand, they really do a great job of catering to everything a Westerner might need. I think there's a culture shock with the chaotic traffic, but the service, the food is really good. And also I think the massages are cheaper in Thailand. I would get a massage every day for, it would be like $10 for 60 or 90 minutes. And then here in Thailand, they're charging maybe $20 for 60 minutes or 90 minutes. So it's not dirt cheap, like frankly Thailand, where it's just so cheap to get a massage every day. Like I really haven't got massages here, just because I didn't think it'd be as expensive as I was thinking. Like in Bangkok, it's just so freaking cheap. Also, in terms of what I think each country is known for, in terms of what tourists like to spend their money on, I think what I've been doing in Vietnam, a lot of people really enjoy shopping. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of manufacturing going on, so their manufacturing of goods and fake goods have been really good. And then I also think in Vietnam, I've been doing like, I got my hair permed, I got my teeth whitened. So my teeth whitening was around $130. If that was in the States, it'd be $300. And then a perm in the States would probably be around $300. I got this for $100. So there's small things you would do here. In Thailand, I don't exactly know. I didn't think their fashion scene was that good compared to Vietnam. And then I think what I was doing that was really good was just the massages that were off the charts. I didn't really get a Thai. I did get a Thai haircut, and it was pretty good as well, actually. And I think in general, anytime you visit a Southeast Asian country, a lot of Westerners like to get certain medical procedures done just because it's a lot cheaper. And I don't know about the quality. You really gotta do your research. And then also on the safety point, I walk around Saigon and Bangkok at night, and I never really feel unsafe that I'm gonna get harmed in any way. Maybe I've been getting lucky, but I don't feel worried that I'm gonna get shot or stabbed when I'm walking at night. I think the only thing where there's a concern in both countries is, am I gonna get hit by this motorbike? And honestly, some of these Grab drivers and Green SM drivers are pretty impressive, but that's like the only thing I get worried about, which is getting hit by a car. In terms of bodily harm by another human being, I rarely feel endangered. I know there was a stealing problem here in Vietnam about, 6 years ago, where people were getting their phones jacked with people driving on Grab cars. And I think a lot of that crime was stopped because apparently there's a law now in Vietnam, if you steal more than 600 USD, you have 2 years in jail. So I'm walking around with this big ass camera, I'm walking with my phone out in Vietnam, and I never get too pressed about it getting stolen. I can leave my laptop at a coffee shop confidently for 2 minutes here in Saigon. I don't know if I can leave it for longer. I don't want to test it out. And in Bangkok, I never felt really in danger of getting harmed. Maybe there's slight scams. The only danger I feel like I'm in Bangkok is crossing the street and getting on a Grab bike. But I'm always so surprised that I never get hit by a car. It's truly impressive what they've done in Southeast Asia with the bikes. The bikes here, they do force you to wear a helmet. In Bangkok, you don't need to wear a helmet. But that's also something around the safety aspect. And then I think the English aspect, most service workers in Bangkok and Thailand did speak pretty good English. I think there might be some that are better than others, For example, I went to a dentist in Vietnam yesterday, and basically the main owner guy spoke really good English. He was from America, but the dentist I was working with, they didn't speak super good English, so we were doing like some Google Translate back and forth. But I've been noticing that the younger people here in Vietnam speak pretty good English, and I'm saying that because I went on a few dates here in Vietnam, and both of those dates, they spoke really good English, or one of them spoke really good English. The other was okay, and then I also went on quite a few dates in Thailand, and the local Thai girls, it was kind of a struggle. Most of the dates were us on Google Translate talking to one another back and forth. So I've noticed that the young people here in Vietnam speak pretty good English, where I don't have to be on Google Translate and talking to them. I think maybe some older folks here in both countries, or I guess it depends on the demographic, but in general, I do think the younger people in Vietnam had better English than Bangkok. And yeah, so those are just my free-flowing thoughts comparing the two, Bangkok versus Thailand. I mean, Saigon versus Bangkok, and I've only been in each spot for 2 weeks, so obviously it's not fully formed and like as detailed as somebody that lives in both countries, that has lived in both countries. But no, I really think Vietnam and Saigon are on the come up, and I've really enjoyed my time here between the two countries, and I got one more beautiful day in Saigon, so I'm gonna enjoy it to the fullest. It's always bittersweet leaving a country, and I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in the Stream of Thought video. See everybody in the next one. Peace.